He only respects you if you do this first. And I need you to stay with me, because what I'm about to say will either shatter the way you've been dating, or finally explain why you've been giving so much and receiving crumbs. Because here's the truth no one tells women softly anymore. Respect is not something a man suddenly wakes up and decides to give you because you're beautiful, kind, loyal, or endlessly patient. Respect is something he calibrates based on what you signal about yourself before he ever decides how deeply to show up. And I learned this the hard way. Not in a dramatic breakup scene, not with tears on a bathroom floor, but in a quiet moment when I realized I had been negotiating my worth in tiny, invisible ways. Answering messages too fast, explaining myself when I didn't owe an explanation, softening my boundaries so he wouldn't feel uncomfortable. And the wild part is, he didn't suddenly become cruel. He simply followed the instructions I was unconsciously giving him. Because men don't disrespect you out of nowhere. They respond to the emotional economy you create. And the first thing he needs to see, before attraction, before chemistry, before commitment, is that you respect yourself in ways that don't require words. Because self-respect is silent. It's energetic. It's the way you move through space. The way you pause before responding. The way you don't chase clarity from someone who hasn't earned access to your inner world. And let me tell you something slightly uncomfortable, but incredibly liberating. The moment you stop performing for male approval is the moment male respect begins. Because when you walk into a room not needing to be chosen, you become undeniable. And I remember sitting across from a man who was charming, successful, attentive on paper, yet something felt off. He kept subtly testing how far he could lean without standing upright himself, canceling plans last minute, fishing for reassurance. And instead of confronting him emotionally, I did something different. I pulled back my availability. Not in a manipulative way, but in a self-honoring way. I filled my time with things that mattered to me. I stopped over-explaining my feelings. I stopped auditioning to be understood. And suddenly, his energy shifted. His tone softened. His effort sharpened. Not because I demanded respect, but because I embodied it. And this is where most women get it wrong. They think respect comes after love, after investment, after proving loyalty. But psychologically, respect comes first. Love follows respect. And attraction deepens where respect is present. Because no man can fully value what he feels he has easy access to emotionally. And this isn't about playing games. It's about refusing to abandon yourself for connection. There's a philosophical idea I live by. You teach people how to treat you by the standards you refuse to lower. And the reason this matters so deeply is because respect is the foundation of safety. And safety is what allows a man to step into his masculine role without resistance. When you overgive, overfunction, overnurture too early, you rob him of the opportunity to rise. And unconsciously, he resents you for it. Not because you're wrong, but because polarity collapses when you do the emotional labor for both people. And I want you to hear this clearly. Your softness is powerful only when it's protected by boundaries. Otherwise, it becomes a resource others consume without reverence. And when you start protecting your energy, not with walls but with standards, everything changes. Your voice becomes calmer, your presence heavier, your absence noticeable. And men feel this instinctively. Because respect begins the moment you stop negotiating your worth in exchange for temporary attention. Now let's go deeper. Because self-respect isn't about becoming cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. It's about becoming rooted, grounded, and unshakable in who you are before anyone else decides your value. And one of the most powerful shifts I ever made was learning to pause. Pause before replying. Pause before explaining. Pause before rescuing someone from their own confusion. Because pauses create gravity, and gravity creates respect. When you respond instantly to everything, you communicate urgency, and urgency reads as need. But when you move with intention, you communicate choice, and choice is intoxicating. I watched this play out in real time with women I mentor. The moment they stopped over-communicating, stopped chasing closure, Stop trying to be the cool girl who understands everything. The men around them either rose or removed themselves. And both outcomes were wins. Because respect filters your reality. It reveals who is aligned and who is only comfortable when you were convenient. And I know this triggers fear. The fear of losing him. The fear of being misunderstood. The fear of being alone. But let me ask you something honestly. What have you already lost by staying small? By staying quiet? By staying agreeable? Because respect doesn't require you to raise your voice. It requires you to raise your standards. And psychologically, when a man senses that you are emotionally self-sourced, that your happiness does not depend on his validation, he treats you with care, not because he's scared of losing you, but because he recognizes your value. And value is protected instinctively. There's a subtle dominance in feminine self-respect that doesn't shout. It whispers. It's the woman who doesn't argue her worth. She lives it. She doesn't threaten to leave. She's already complete. And paradoxically, that completeness makes men lean in. Because masculine energy wants to invest where it feels needed, but not exploited. And here's the part no one tells you. Respect deepens when you allow men to feel the consequences of their choices without rescuing them emotionally. If he pulls away, you don't chase. You observe. If he disrespects your time, you don't over-explain. You adjust access. If he's inconsistent, you don't analyze his potential. You look at his patterns, because patterns are the truth. And when you respond to patterns instead of promises, your nervous system calms, your confidence stabilizes, and your presence becomes magnetic. And I've seen men who once breadcrumbed suddenly show up with clarity and intention when the woman stopped rewarding half-effort with full access. Not because she changed him, but because she changed what she tolerated. And tolerance is the silent contract you sign every time you ignore your intuition. And I refuse to teach women to beg for respect when they can command it energetically. Because the most attractive thing you can do is act like a woman who knows she will be okay no matter what. That's when respect locks in, because he understands you are choosing him, not needing him. And choice is power. So let me bring this home, because I want you to walk away from this feeling taller, steadier, and deeply anchored in yourself. He only respects you if you do this first. If you respect yourself enough to stop abandoning your standards for connection. If you prioritize your peace over his potential. If you treat your time, body, and emotional labor like luxury assets, not unlimited resources. And this doesn't mean you close your heart. It means you guard it with wisdom. You stop auditioning for roles you were already born to lead. And the moment you embody this, you'll notice how the world responds differently. Not just men, but opportunities, friendships, conversations, because self-respect sharpens your discernment. And discernment is feminine intelligence at its highest level. I want you to imagine moving through dating with calm curiosity instead of anxious attachment, observing instead of overinvesting, responding instead of reacting, and trusting that what's meant for you will meet you at your level, not below it. Because the woman who respects herself doesn't fear being alone. She fears being misaligned. And that shift alone rewires everything. And if this is landing for you, if something in your chest feels seen, I want you to stay connected to this space. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Because Femphoria is where women come to remember who they are without apology. And I want you to comment your biggest takeaway, even if it's just one sentence, because naming your insight anchors it into your reality. And remember this, respect is not requested, it's reflected. The way you treat yourself becomes the blueprint others follow. And the moment you stop asking, why doesn't he respect me, and start asking, where am I not respecting myself, your power returns instantly, quietly, undeniably. And once you feel that, you'll never go back. Because a woman who respects herself is not hard to love. She's impossible to forget. And before you click away, let me seal this into your nervous system. Because this is not just dating advice. This is a way of living. When you walk away from this video, I want you to feel a quiet authority in your chest. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that doesn't rush, explain, or chase. Because once you internalize this, You will never again confuse attention with respect, chemistry with consistency, or potential with truth. You will start choosing yourself in micro moments, in texts you don't send, in excuses you no longer make for others, in standards you hold even when your voice trembles. And that is when everything aligns, because the world always mirrors the woman you decide to become. So decide carefully, decide boldly, decide in your favor, and remember this one final truth. The right man will never be intimidated by your self-respect. He will be activated by it, grounded by it, inspired to rise because of it. And if this message found you at the exact moment you needed it, let that be your confirmation. Comment, "I needed this." Come back to this whenever you feel yourself slipping. And never forget, you are not here to be chosen. You are here to be met. At your level, in your power, in your worth.